Morgan Klinger, and I'm bringing the history alive of my family business, Klinger Lumber. I'm holding an oil painting of my grandfather, Earl Klinger, who started Klinger Lumber.
Jack of all trades.
My father took me to the old garage and office at the house where my dad was raised and where the business began. In the office, my grandfather had a small desk with a telephone where he would take orders and do most of the business. The garage was where he, a former truck driver, would store the lumber he brought back from New England for friends and contractors who needed the lumber.
He did that for a while and then realized that, I think I can start a business with this because there's a real market here for lumber and building materials and a real need for that. So that's how he started out.
And you worked here as a young boy. Can you compare the business and industry of when you worked there then to now?
Well, when I was a boy, my first job here was to empty waste cans after school 3 times a week. My dad gave me 50 cents to do that, and so I did that. And as I got older, then I began to stock shelves and things like that. But the business back then was we were just obviously a lot smaller then because we continued to grow, but we only had a small store at that time and just a small area to store the inventory, actually less than an acre. As far as other equipment goes, delivery equipment, I remember back then we only had 1 forklift and maybe 2 or 3 trucks. Now we have 5 forklifts and they're a lot more modern, obviously, and we have 9 delivery trucks. 2 of those are boom trucks, which we didn't have back at that time. More employees, we have about 24 employees now.
As the business picked up, my grandfather found it necessary to carry more products, expand, and put all of his efforts into building a full-time business.
His biggest challenge when he first started out was financing and finding the money to grow the business and to be able to pay his bills on time. After he did get established, competition set in, and even though we're kind of in a rural area here, back at that time there were several lumber companies in business in this area, and so he had competition to deal with. And today, it's still the biggest challenge, I would say, is still competition.
Have there been any attempts to spread the corporation to another location from Ewell?
Back in the mid-'70s, my dad did have another location. He bought a location in Trevorton, and he had that for 4 or 5 years and then sold it to the general manager that ran it for him up in Trevorton. And that was as he was retiring, so he moved away then in 1979, but he wanted to sell that before he retired. So he did that. And recently, since I've been here, I haven't attempted to do that. I've been focused on this location and just growing this location.
In 1962, he bought the current location of Klinger Lumber. Then, in the early 1970s, he purchased an old horse barn on Broad Street in Elizabethville because additional storage was needed. He later traded this barn for adjacent property where the Elizabethville Monument Company was formerly located. This area was turned into additional parking space. Also, in 1975, as the business continued to grow and technology improved, he purchased his first computer system and built additional office space.
He was kind of a progressive thinker like that, and he wanted to dive into this. The computer was bigger than a room-sized air conditioner that you put in a window. It had to be kept in a dust-free, air-conditioned room. It had to be kept at a certain temperature. And we built a piece onto the store to do that.
And this is where I work pretty much any time that I can. And I'm really glad that we have this new computer system because it makes my job as well as all the other employees' job a lot easier. In 1993, Klinger Lumber hosted a grand opening celebrating the expansion of the retail store area to the size that exists today. This expansion allowed Klinger Lumber to stock more merchandise for both customers and contractors. Even though Klinger Lumber started out with strictly lumber, it expanded into many specialized areas of hardware-related items, such as paint, windows, doors, plumbing and electrical supplies, and custom kitchen and bath design. In 2000, my father purchased 2 additional acres of land to expand the lumberyard area. He built a large building for storing and organizing the lumber. This is the newest addition that we built in 2006 for storage of treated lumber, vinyl siding, and drywall. As time goes on and technology continues to change, so do the building products. Klinger Lumber has to continually evaluate products and services that are essential to the building industry. The business has been very fortunate to be located in a steadily growing area that has allowed for continued growth to better serve its customers' needs.